Arriving at dealerships later this year, the slightly larger than the Q5 Audi E-Tron looks like a pretty ordinary SUV, but it's actually packing a big surprise. Underneath its unassuming skin is a 95 kilowatt-hour battery and 2 electric motors. We'll unpack everything you need to know about the upcoming Audi E-Tron in today's Story of the Day. The E-Tron is a proper-sized SUV that seats 5 people. As I mentioned, it comes in slightly larger than an Audi Q5 and shares a lot in terms of styling and design with the Q5. What might be surprising here is actually how ordinary it looks, when we're so used to seeing these full electric vehicles looking very different or looking distinctively electric, if you will. But driving down the road, most people would have no idea that this was a fully electric vehicle because for better or worse, it doesn't look any different. Regardless of its looks, the E-Tron is pretty well equipped for an electric vehicle. Along the bottom of the vehicle rests a 1,500-pound, 95 kilowatt-hour battery pack. This weight is obviously detrimental to performance, but it is at least centered and low to the ground, so it really helps with lowering the center of gravity on the vehicle, which will actually really improve handling and the all-wheel drive traction. This pack discharges to 2 electric motors, one on each axle, which, similar to a Tesla or other electric vehicle applications, allows for all-wheel drive. Despite the size of the battery, it is still able to receive an 80% charge in just 30 minutes thanks to its 150 kilowatt fast charging capabilities. For comparisons, Tesla's charge at 120 kilowatts and the upcoming Jaguar I-Pace would be at 100 kilowatts. Charging in your house, however, the battery will take about 9 hours to get you a full charge, and that's also assuming that you install the 240 volt outlet in your garage. One unfortunate piece of information, however, is the range. You only get about 240 miles on a full charge, which is significantly behind the Tesla Model X, which comes in at 295 miles. This shortcoming could be due to the E-Tron being less aerodynamic, or having less efficient motors, or simply both, than the Tesla Model X. Similar to many other electric vehicles, the E-Tron also has regenerative braking. This will help recharge the batteries on deceleration. However, unlike Tesla's approach, which kicks in as soon as you let off the accelerator, Audi's regenerative braking is actually tied into the brake pedal, so about the first 1/3 of the brake pedal is all regenerative braking, and then after that the traditional brakes will kick in. Audi says that there should be a smooth and perceivable transition between the two, but we'll have to test that out to be sure. However, if it works, this could actually be a much more natural driving style than the Tesla's, leading to a shorter learning curve getting used to the vehicle. Once we start talking performance, the E-Tron once again is lagging behind the Model X, but it's still no slouch. The E-Tron is good for 60 miles per hour in just 5.5 seconds, and overall, between the two motors, is rated at 402 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque. However, note that these numbers are only when the car is in boost mode, so don't expect to get these numbers and a 240 mile range at the same time. The top speed is also a bit low at only 124 miles per hour, but again, it's an electric vehicle, so that's not necessarily a huge deal, as that would quickly drain your battery traveling at that kind of speed. Inside, the car feels exactly like what you'd expect a futuristic Audi interior to be. The seats and doors seem very Audi, for lack of a better adjective. The infotainment and climate controls are controlled by 2 separate touchscreens, however, so this is pretty new for an Audi system. Behind the steering wheel is an updated virtual cockpit system, very similar to what we're seeing in other new Audi models. And European versions will also get those fancy side view cameras that replace the traditional mirrors. However, in the States, we will not be getting those thanks to the NHTSA. We do, however, get to avoid the months that it would take to get used to that new system. So, pros and cons. As expected with a high-end electric car, the E-Tron is loaded with tech. I already mentioned some of the innovative approaches, such as the side view mirrors and the new touchscreen, but the tech doesn't stop there. Audi also developed a new generation of the Quattro all-wheel drive system for these electric motors, ensuring that the E-Tron will be capable on all surfaces. The battery pack is also backed by an 8-year, 100,000 mile warranty, showing Audi's confidence in the tech. And finally, Audi is also introducing a whole new level of connectivity in the vehicle by introducing Amazon Alexa inside the car, as well as Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which also have their own virtual assistants. So looking at price and value, the E-Tron starts just over $75,000. This puts it about $13,000 below the starting price of a Model X before any rebates are taken into account. However, the e-tron also performs below the Model X with worse range and performance than even a base model Model X. So without a doubt, the high-performance electric SUV market still belongs solely to Tesla for the time being. The way I see it is that the only competitive advantage the e-tron has in the market is its price. If you want an electric SUV for less than the price of a Model X, then this is a great option, but it's still expensive. However, one key distinction we haven't really talked about yet is the e-tron doesn't have any self-driving tech. So if you want high performance or you're interested in self-driving tech, then the e-tron's not going to be an option for you, and you're going to have to save up another 10 grand or so and go with the Tesla Model X at this time. So my question for you is really, how big is this market that Audi has placed itself in? Is this big enough to make a viable car? Because you're still spending $75,000 plus to get into this SUV, and there's only $10,000 before you get into a Model X. Can they really find enough customers in that very narrow range that they set themselves up in to make this a successful vehicle? Let me know your thoughts down below on what you think of the e-tron and what you think of the future success within that marketplace. As always, thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like button and get subscribed, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.